Hello everybody, good morning. It's Holger Müller here from Constellation Research, here with my partner Liz Miller, bringing you the enterprise news in episodes 115. Welcome
115.
everybody. 115, yeah.
I feel like that should have some significance, but we're just going to go with that it's just 115 and we haven't burned the place down.
Exactly. I'm not going to burn any token with some thoughtful 115 numeric.
Yeah,
Sometimes
no.
do, right? Sometimes some inspire. I'm not going to do this yet.
Normally you have some German thing that happens with it, so I'm a little confused.
Yeah, no, nothing rings right now. So much enterprise news now. So, right,
There's
where do you want to
so
start?
much news. It's we haven't seen each other in 2 weeks. I mean, listen, well, 4 weeks, a month. Yeah, Larry and Martin have been holding it down in episode 114, and I think they left silly season wide open for us to come in a clown car. So let's get right to the enterprise news. Holger, what's been happening in your world?
Yeah, I mean, lots of AI news, obviously, but let's not start with the most important thing last week, which was Constellation's AI event, which was held in Washington, D.C.
AI Forum.
Army Navy Club, absolutely great speakers as usual, engaged audience, lots of interesting updates, insights from the trenches. I had 2 panels on the adaptation of AI and the influence of the future of work. All of them are recorded. Larry Dignan, our scribe par excellence, has written up things faster than we can talk them probably. So check out his summaries. And all the videos are going to be somewhere at some point available. Maybe our editor Hannah can already make a link available to the videos recorded from the AI forum of last week in DC, the third AI forum. So thanks everybody for coming and showing up and checking out what's happening in AI, because a ton is happening in AI. There's no question about it, right? Just today, right? On the coding front, right, I'm very bullish, optimistic on what AI can do for coding, right? We're both in Las Vegas. We'll say in a moment why and where. And yesterday there was like massive optimization or expectations from one of the key development guy for application development, SAP, Morgan Halan. He said he expects factor 4 or 5 of the AI tools in terms of productivity, which is I was surprised how big that burden is. But we see like Anthropic, right, who's leading the Sonnet LLMs, has struck a huge deal with IBM, right? That's coming on there, just news today. Similarly with Deloitte, right, over 200,000-300,000 every Deloitte employee gets their own Claude, Sonnet, whatever LLM on their machine to code. So lots of news on that perspective, right?
But I think we also have the opposite side of that, and I think that nexus point happens to be Deloitte right now, where I think we're seeing a case out of Australia where Deloitte is being fined. They've been brought up, they've been called out for their consultants using AI and having a hallucination kind of come up in a very important point that also turned out to be a bit of an embarrassing point. But I think that also shows something else that came out and in what we heard from main stage directly from Mohammed Alam right here at SAP Connect, which is that these are tools to be working with people. They're not supposed to be replacing human thought, right? We're supposed to actually be critically thinking about these things as we put everything together. So when we think about the deep research, when we think about the opportunity that there is, we also have to be talking about the responsibility. And I think that that opinionated commentary from Mohammed was really important, because it is about the responsibility of using AI and being able to leverage it. I think up until now we've been talking about the ethics of AI and where that should happen and if it should happen. We've kind of turned it into this like esoteric ethical debate, but the reality is it's a responsibility. It's a responsibility like we had with all of our tools. And we have to really think that through. So I thought that was a timely conversation, considering those two converged conversations you were talking about.
Exactly, right? So the good news is, right, I mean, we're only at the beginning of the fall season, but luckily, this whole conversation about ethical AI, responsible AI has been tuned down, right? Which I more than welcome that, because it cannot be solved, right? Data is biased. Yeah, the systems will hallucinate. So it comes back to exactly what Mohammed said, to supervision, and it's a machine. Right, if I operate a machine starting in the silly or real world of the car, if I operate a CNC machine in manufacturing and it goes havoc and does bad things, I'm responsible, I'm the operator, right? So we can't forget that with AI, right? And the interesting thing is, of course, to see how AI is progressing from being a useless intern to a sometimes useful intern to intern you might hire, but then
Right,
the
right.
intern which you hired is only a junior person out
It's
of college, right? You don't throw them in the midst of the heat and expect them to perform, right? So
yeah.
that graduation of AI assistants helping knowledge workers and blue collar workers, right, is an interesting thing. Right? So,
And I think we're seeing so many announcements around that exact theme, right? I think that along with the ethical AI conversation, which not to say that you should not be creating those ethical guidelines and those vision statements within your organization, we just can't use ethics as the barrier of why you can't adopt AI, right? I think that had been kind of some of those early conversations that when we started to talk about the ethics, when we started to talk about the guardrails, when we started to talk about the how do we use it, instead of actually going and creating those guidelines and implementing them, we used it as an excuse of why, no, we're not going to implement it. And I think we're starting to see that tear away, like you said. But I think,
absolutely right. Absolutely right.
I spent time with the team at AWS and Amazon Connect, which is Amazon's contact center solution. And really it's unfair to call it their contact center solution because it is so much more. And it does have the capacity to do more. And what they are very opinionated about as well is very similar to what we heard from the stage here at SAP, which is this is a tool where, how, and when are you going to use it? And that not all flavors of AI are identical, that some things are used at certain points. You use sometimes at runtime, you do others before, you do others in another latent state. You don't just slap agentic on everything and call it a day. So, I'm appreciating out here on the road that we're hearing some nuance. We're hearing detail. People are using the words intentionally, but I think they're also strategizing intentionally about where people need something that is very assistive and where someone's looking for something that's just a passive assistant. And I think that differentiation, keep looking out for that as we keep going through the fall. I will also say that AI, while still a major reason for everyone on Wall Street to be paying attention, and everyone is very excited about what's happening, it is also driving M&A silly season while we are out here on the road. It feels like there is a new announcement of an acquisition. People are buying things left and right, which is great to see. We had a very slow M&A season last year, but this year, they're all over. I mean, Thoma Bravo, I would like to know where Thoma Bravo's money tree is, because they are buying things left and right. They are creating one heck of an engagement portfolio and one heck of a CX portfolio, most recently picking up the pricing and kind of B2B pricing and B2B CPQ powerhouse Pros. And not only did they pick up Pros, which was big enough, at least in my world, was big enough, but now they are going to start to see how they can leverage the different parts of this organization. That for Pros, it had very been kind of split, right? You had your airline pricing and your airline business, which is dominant. They are the dominant, they are by far and away the leader in their category, especially when it comes to pricing and dynamic pricing. But they're now splitting off their B2B business, which was oftentimes, I don't want to say overlooked, but kind of paled in comparison as far as where a lot of that was coming from. They're going to split the B2B business off to Conga, of course, the revenue platform and the revenue optimization platform. So we're starting to see that revenue world come to light. Martin Schneider, our colleague, probably did a happy dance when that was happening because it's big news over in that RevOps world. So that's exciting. The thing that I'm seeing from Thoma Bravo though is this, and it's like I'm gonna issue a dare. I feel, are we ready, Holger? I'm gonna triple dog dare Thoma Bravo on ConstellationTV, on CRTV.
Okay, someone to come out.
I know. I want more imagination. Like, listen, splitting the B2B, putting that piece of Pros into Conga, that's supercharging an already powerful engine, and it's awesome. I think it's a great move. I am fully in support of it.
I'm with you totally on that, because ultimately, if you're in that space, CRM, CX, we have lots of videos on this, right? You need to be able to compete with Salesforce. 100%. And I don't see how splitting, making things smaller, nimble competitors, maybe it's survive and die, whatever, cage fighting of the different investments they have and see who's going to
Yeah.
make it. But making things smaller is not going to compete with the 800-pound gorilla. I'm sure what
And
your
I
take
think
is.
that Thoma Bravo portfolio companies do a very good job of partnering together. I think Thoma Bravo as an organization really does encourage that motion, which is great. But I want to see more imagination in that encouragement. I want to see where Highland with their their dam solution of Nuxio. I want to see where Medallia comes into this. I want to see where some of these other solutions, Verint has just recently joined the Thoma Bravo portfolio, or will if as the acquisition closes. So I want to see where some of those other motions start to come together, where we start to see, is this really a Thoma Bravo portfolio powerhouse, or are they building individual powerhouses by looking at these capabilities? And I just want to see that imagination come together and not maybe pick the obvious choices.
Yeah.
Triple dog dare. Haha, there we go.
And then, I mean, acquisitions and money is throwing around all the stack, and people are learning so fast, right? I mean,
Yeah.
OpenAI made the commitment to Oracle. Oracle stock went through the roof, right? Made Larry temporarily the richest person on the planet, right? And the learning is massive, right? So on Monday, we learn about the deal that OpenAI is doing with AMD, right? With using AMD chips with 6 gigawatt performance for inference, right? They're not even for training, right? And then putting in something that they will get rewarded out of their payment for up to 10% of the AMD stock if the AMD stock rises. I'm not an FTC competitive guy. I don't know if that's possible, allowed, but there's massive learning saying, hey, we make a performance commitment to some cloud, their stock goes up. Why shouldn't we participate out of the money we pay for using that cloud? So very interesting things happening overall in the AI world.
But I gotta say, I do wonder, as all of those interesting things on the financial side of AI, on the on the stock price side of AI, as that all gets hot and you can't avoid the headlines for it, it adds so much more pressure to the executives out there that are just trying to figure out how to make AI something that is actually real. Because for a lot of organizations, it's not real yet. They are still struggling to onboard. They're still struggling to pull their data into a usable space and place. And I think there's a lot more frustration. I think that as we close out silly season, as we get towards the holidays, I think that there's so much excitement and hype, and there's so much money that we can't avoid. It's like the giant elephant in the room, but it's really hard to sit down with an executive and hear the reality of what they're facing across their organization, that you see some parts of the org that are willing to fly with AI, and there are still some parts that are really, truly struggling. And I think if we're going to make this a durable, lasting commitment, this can't be like the hype of the metaverse where all of a sudden it was gone, right? And no one's talking about it anymore, right? Like that. And I know that's not what's going to happen with AI, but that's how people are starting to feel.
Liz, if we had AI,
that feeling,
Liz, if we had AI, the metaverse would have flown.
It would have just been amazing.
No, but seriously, there's an argument in this, right? Because I was at the HoloLens launch 10 plus years ago, right? And we as an analyst, kudos to Microsoft, did a hands-on thing. We put a little bowl into it, which you could then see from it. It took us, despite being prepared, 3 hours to make a little bowl appear on the HoloLens, right? The developer productivity was just not there, right? So, and that shows something that we see many times, like if you think about marketplaces having a boom around 2000, if you think about big data having a boom like 10 years ago, all these things are happening right now, but there will also be things which we hype now, which will only be possible in 5 years, maybe in 10 years. But the thing which is encouraging is that AI changes everything on the stack, right? We always have seen things layering up, right? My infinite computing research, right? It builds on each other. It has to build on each other. It's physical architectures. But AI is helping every aspect of the stack and the humans outside of it from productivity, right? If my meetings get canceled better, hey, if my emails would be answered in a decent way of fashion, right? Advanced intern level, my emails, right? How much time could I have to do other stuff, right? Will we use the time? Different story, but it's really interesting how every aspect of the stack changes with AI and helps to accelerate it, which means more productivity, more humanity, more freedom, more competition, more things which we couldn't do before, which we hopefully love to do before and have to do now and can do now.
I recently spent time with the team at Sprinklr talking about their transformation. And, one of the really interesting things is we had a really great opportunity to sit and really talk with some of their customers. And the thing that you hear over and over and over again across major brands like AT&T and Walmart, these are not kind of small companies trying to figure out where to put AI, is that they have found that their people are actually the ones that are driving the greatest deal of innovation because they individually feel their productivity. It's not a matter of the company saying, you're more productive, we're churning more things. It's when that individual feels more productive with that with that moderately more trained intern by their side. They're actually doing more, they're asking more questions, they're interrogating differently. And I think that's certainly in the world of CX, that's the big unlock. Right? If you can ask that question of why can't I do that? Why can't I do that differently? I think that's where we're starting to see a lot of those applications really, really turn the corner. And for Sprinklr as an organization, AI has arguably allowed them to transform themselves. Right. And I think we all have that mindset of they're still in that social media monitoring, like, no, you stay in that category. But with AI and with all this advancement in data and technology, they have expanded out to a far more expansive and far more impressive portfolio than even I wanted to give them credit for. So I think we're seeing that all over the place. But what we're definitely seeing is an end to this. Here's the deal, everyone. Here's the behind the scenes moment for CRTV. Holger and I, we're just running wild and footloose today. Yeah. We don't have Hannah. We could do anything. We could do anything with this entire episode and it could just go off the rails. We could go anywhere where we wanted, but we're going to be good. We're going to end the news segment, but we're going to be back with a couple interviews and we will be back at the end of the show to bid you farewell. But as usual, thanks for coming.
Thanks for watching. But Liz, I have one concern, we're doing this too much, like 115 episodes, and like an odd couple, we're getting the same. We have the same pictures. I'm trying to cover it up the same time.
Look at this. This is what happens in silly season, everyone. We are
ridiculous. So
same hotel, different side of the rooms.
I'm destroying the evidence here with my.
I don't know. Maybe Hannah can change the full background. I don't know what we're gonna do. AI will solve this, Holger.
Individualize please. I want to be on island tropical. All right, thanks everybody.
Well, listen, come back in just a little bit. We'll be here to say goodbye. But in the meantime, here's some great interviews. Hey, CRTV, I am back and just wanted to share a couple thoughts from a very busy time on the road. As you have heard Holger and myself talk about in the news segment, we have been in an awful lot of places. But there's something that has just been stuck in the back of my mind for just a little bit. And it's Sprinklr's fault. If you want to blame this interview segment, if you want to blame this CRTV segment on someone, a group, blame Sprinklr. For those of you, and I'm talking to the marketers out there. We've known Sprinklr for a really, really long time, right? And we have seen Sprinklr grow up through an awful lot of incarnations of what it could do for us and with us, specific to social media channels and leveraging those channels for everything from how to manage and create content to how to identify influencers to all different areas of what we could be doing and what we should be doing, very specific to social media. And for those of us who then also kind of moved into things like commerce, or maybe those of us who moved into things like service, we started to see how Sprinklr could start to coordinate and allow us to collaborate on those responses. But I think for a lot of us, if we're being very honest, the depth to which we would get involved in understanding how Sprinklr could connect into all of our spaces and places really started and stopped with social. And I learned, spending some time with Sprinklr and more importantly, spending time with their customers, that is not where Sprinklr starts and stops. Got to hear from the team at Caesars Entertainment on their sports book and their gaming side, their digital side of the business. And what started as an RFP, what started as kind of going through and ticking the box, and we've all been there. You go through the list of needs, you go through the things that operationally you are either replacing or you're satisfying. And you don't really look beyond that column. And it was so interesting to hear that Sprinklr, for a contact center solution, for a contact center as a service solution, ticked the boxes. And that's all they were looking to do. Let's find a way to tick the boxes. We've all been there. But when it came time to actually use those boxes, to look away from what you ticked off and actually put everything into action, it didn't go well. And even Sprinklr admitted it didn't go well. And it takes a lot. for an organization to sit in front of a room full of analysts and say, this was not our finest hour. It takes a lot for a newly minted CEO to sit in front of a room full of analysts and say, it didn't go how we wanted it to go. It takes even more to have that group step up and fix it. And everyone from Caesars to Sprinklr, everyone involved decided, let's take a step back. Let's pause for a moment and strategically understand what outcome and what problem we're looking to solve. And the problem that they were looking to solve was, how do we retain our most valuable customer? So think about it. What do you have to start doing? If your problem is retention, if your problem is how do we engage and reach and make sure that we are communicating with that most valuable customer, well, first of all, you got to figure out who your most valuable customer is. And I know that sounds really easy to do, but those of us who have been chasing that and doing that, we know exactly how hard that can be, because our most valuable customer isn't necessarily the customer who spends the most money. Sometimes our most valuable customer over their lifetime doesn't have the biggest sale of the month. Maybe they're consistent. Maybe they buy in volume. Maybe they aren't just gatekeeping. How do you find out if your customers are gatekeeping or if they're advocates? Well, you leverage social. And that's exactly what Caesar started to do. I was super impressed by the story. I was super impressed by the strategy and by the fortitude of the Caesars gaming team. This is an organization, if you know Caesars at all, they are steeped in data. Everything about every move in gaming is about data. But sometimes it's also about stepping back and defining outcomes. Yes, you use the data to utilize that. You need the data to actually determine that, but you have to articulate it. And they articulated those outcomes. And they wrapped their technology and their implementation around how to resolve those outcomes. It sounds super simple, right? I think we can all stand and shout outcomes, but right now we're trapped in an age of outputs. We look at what the prompt gave us. We look at what AI delivered. We look at the recommendation. We try to figure out what's going on with the model. We try to figure out how to contain and control social. Those are all outputs. But how do we recenter on the outcomes? And with Sprinklr as their partner, they've been able to do that, not just through social, but also through their contact center, through their functions, through their people, through that AI, through their data. They're using social as a bi-directional means to exchange not just sentiment and content and conversations. They're exchanging data. That's the difference. So why do I come in here and talk to you guys about this? Why am I rambling on in the middle of CRTV? It's like the opinion section. I feel like I'm suddenly the Andy Rooney of CRTV, but here's why I share that. I owe Sprinklr an apology. So what better place than CRTV to come and give that apology? I owe the organization an apology because I had them stuck in a bucket. I had them stuck in a narrow definition. You're a social media company. So what that means is that you calendar, you schedule, you monitor, you let me know if someone said something mean about me. I took the lowest common denominator of what social media means for me, or meant for me as a marketer, means for me as someone who watches customer experience. And I boiled it down to the easiest possible denominator, when in reality, Sprinklr's customers are doing the hardest thing for a lot of us. They're figuring out the outcomes, and they're figuring out the channels and the data and the means that they can use to engage, to ensure those outcomes. And that's a technology worth watching.
Hello everybody, it's Holger Müller here from Constellation Research, here to speak about something which I want to record since quite a while, so finally got around with it. And this is the always lingering, kind of like omnipresent conversation of LLMs, large language models, versus VSLMs, very small language models. Now, first of all, let me preface this. In a world of ever-growing CPU, GPU, tell me whatever hunger with energy needs which we don't know where to, we can meet them with nuclear power plants being reactivated. More frugal system resources is always better, it's always nicer. There's no question about it. However, this discussion has been going on since a long time, and I want to get my opinion out to this, which is that large language models always win. There's only one area where large language models don't win is if that large language model cannot run on the device. A 32 billion parameter model will likely not run on a 1024 megabyte system, which is put on a satellite which is flying to the end of the universe, wherever, right? So that's clear. But if the platform can access, if the platform can reach a large language model, it will always win over a small language model, because we know it's challenging to figure out what is the intent and what are the right small language models to answer something, which is really, really hard, which is all baked into one single large language model. So you kind of like get that automatically out of the box, courtesy of the transformer algorithm, which is the background to all the large language models running. Now, the interesting thing which you could hear all the time is that the argument, and we heard much less in the second half or first half, even like the second, third quarter of 2025, about very small language models. You only hear the story of very small language models from the people who do not have the ability, do not have the capacity, do not have the budget to build large language models. And then it's kind of like self-serving, right? So the vendors who hear this, they're out there. I don't need to mention them, but it's always the vendors who, like I said, don't have the capacity, don't have the budget, don't have the appetite to build a large language model, which encompasses ideally everything as much as they have available in their data. The main reason, like I mentioned, is like the pre-selector, right? Theoretically, we can think of, I have lots of specialized little language models, and I have a super smart selector who's constantly rerouting based on the user's intent where to go language model-wise. But that is complicated. That is so complicated that when OpenAI, I believe it was ChatGPT 5, was shipping that and had a pre-selector, that pre-selector did not scale, did not understand the content. The first days were not as great as people would like them to have, because there's a lot of intelligence in that pre-selector. If I make the world flat, if I put everything into a large language model, then of course that is done for free. Now, of course, the large language model has to be accessible, right? I mentioned that in the intro, right on the satellite, flying to the edge of the universe, not relevant. That large language model has to be affordable, right? Affordable at the training point for building it, and affordable from a runtime part. Let's quickly dive into that. Affordable from the training point, we live in the bonanza, in the heydays, in the gold rush of AI. People are paying for this, thinking there's no tomorrow. So the training side is not so much of a problem. The inference side could be a problem, theoretically. We're not really there yet, of lots and lots of people using inference, right? It's still training, which is burning more GPUs, whatever you want to say, or using them more than any of the inference is doing. This could change, might change at a certain time. So if the large language model is affordable, both from a training and from one perspective, it will always beat that. It has to be better, right? There's no need to run something big and large if it is not better than the small thing, right? This was the big awakening moment when we heard about DeepSeek, right? But DeepSeek sits on the shoulders of a large language model. So it's exactly that reason. I can build fantastic things on top of a large language model. I can't build so great things on a very small language model or a small language model, whatever you want to call them, especially if they don't have the answer. All right, here's my opinion to this. Would love to hear yours. Please share it. This is on social media for a reason. Be social. Let me know what you think and what you agree with, or even more important, you don't agree with. Thanks for watching.
Okay, we're back. End of episode 115. How'd you like it? Is this your first time here? If this is your first time here and you made it all the way to this end spot, good for you. Congratulations. But do us a favor. I'm going to drive Hannah absolutely crazy right now because I found all these little buttons because this is what happens when she leaves us alone.
Yes. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe, everyone. Look at that. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're checking us out on YouTube. You can always check us out on Twitter or X. We call it X. I'm calling it Twitter. I'm stubborn. It's Twitter.
Old school.
Twitter. Yeah. Twitter. So like, you check us out there. Our handles are right here for Holger and myself, but you can always check out Constellation as well. Listen, we are on the road a lot. We are maybe at like the 1/3 mark of fall silly season. We don't end. We don't quit until we hit reinvent. Like that, it's everything is the road to reinvent, and then we get to take a break over the holidays, thank goodness. But Holger, where are you up next?
Staying here in Las Vegas from
Nice.
going from SAP, just hotel up the strip, down the strip, whatever, to Dayforce Discover.
There we go. There we go. I'm heading out to IBM Tech Exchange, and then we all converge back at, well, technically Oracle AI World, and then we go to Dreamforce. I don't want to edge Oracle out of that lineup. We're all heading there.
Or
so
are we going to Dreamforce in the middle and have an Oracle bun around Dreamforce?
Exactly.
Right? All these things are
Exactly.
possible. Airplanes
So
make it
stay tuned. Keep watching out for our online channels, because we will be having news continuously coming from all of these events. Certainly episode 116 with our brave friends Larry and Martin. Be sure to both check them out too, because Larry feel it's like he hits the road without hitting the road. So much news coming out of Larry. But also check out Martin's feed. He's going to be having a lot out of the world of RevOps. As always, on behalf of Holger and myself, thanks for joining. I hope we gave Hannah enough bloopers so she's got something at the end of this that y'all can watch. But see you next time. Okay, look at that. Look at that. Look at me figuring things out. What?
unbelievable.
What in the world? We got the right bug there. Everyone's got their name where it's supposed to be.
It's true. Looks good. We're on the right side, right?
We're on the correct side of things.
Right?
Should we just do this the whole time? Breaking news.
Well, I'm not sure. Not sure about that. You show your marketing.
Here's another one. Like and subscribe.
Haha, we finally got that one. Excellent. Yeah,
oh, wait, there's another one. Hang on. Oh!
Ooh, in different colors too.
Mm-hmm.
Hit that subscribe button. I always want to say
that. Hannah does it much better. She has a whole screen that comes up.
Episode 115?
Episode 115.
Yeah.
What? She put that in the calendar invitation.
Yeah. Get some caffeine nearby. I'm a little worried about.
I really do need some caffeine nearby because I am tired as all get out. But
snack that, and it's super sweet.
Oh, you snagged one of those from yesterday. That was smart. Yeah, I did not do that. Okay, fix your face. Let's do this. Woo!
Yep.
And then Hannah can do all this right here.
What?
And then I can find some coffee.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't understand, and I have said this so many times in the 24 hours we've been here. I don't understand how Circus is still standing. I don't understand how I can look out my window and there's Circus, and there are people, there are cars pulling up to it. It's not some abandoned lot like it should be. There are people who stay at Circus.
They will sleep anywhere.
My kid, unfortunately, her first experience in Vegas was at the Venetian. So that's just going to be her.
The standard, yeah.
That's the standard. So she's going to be like, the fuck is this? This is dumb. Here we go. Ready? We're going to end this thing.
Yes.
Let's just put a fork in this. We're done. Oh, good Lord. Okay. That's good.